My thing is really about transformation. I've always been interested in transformation so early on in my career, I was a designer. I trained as a designer with buildings. So I used to look at, old, unloved, unused, abandoned things and worked on bringing them back to life. That was my real passion back years ago. And what I realized over time was that the joy that I had for that, I also had with people. People have all this potential and this quality, all this opportunity that often lies untapped, our hidden treasures, that kind of thing. And what I saw in buildings, I saw in people. And I started becoming interested in being a coach. So I trained as a life coach, and then realized over time that actually I didn't have enough that I could help the biggest transformations. So I got really interested in learning how to do, I'll tell you about this in a minute, but hypnotherapy and how that could really transform things. And so my real love and my real privilege as a therapist is to get to help people transform. And I don't really mind whether we're working with a phobia, whether it's, to lose weight, whether it's, anxiety, whatever it is. If it's in the way of them becoming the best version of themselves, that for me is my purpose. That's my passion, and it's just an absolute privilege to get to do that every day. I'm the luckiest person alive, I think. So yeah, transformation, whether it's buildings or people, that's been always my thing. I didn't realize it at the start, but I do now. And I don't work so much in buildings at all now. I work with people, and it's such a rewarding thing. And to think that you can live your whole life and not realize that you have that potential for change, for me, feels like such a waste. So I love seeing the potential and helping people to explore it. So yeah, that's
amazing. That's an amazing story. So what kind of led you to, obviously you told us a little bit, but what kind of led you to big quest as a hypnotherapy course?
Yeah, a couple of things actually, because to be honest, I'm like most people. My idea of hypnotherapy would have been very much what I'd seen on television. I was quite wary. I wasn't diving right into that in terms of coaching when I first got interested in helping people. But interestingly, I chummed a friend to a stress management class years ago, and it was an 8-week evening class, and it was it wasn't advertised as this, but it was run by a clinical hypnotherapist. And during that 8 weeks, I just witnessed and observed the most massive amounts of change in people. People had been I wasn't actually that stressed when I went. There was a lot of people that were really, really on the edge and quite unhappy and quite potentially unwell with anxiety and stress. And I just noticed over 8 weeks how they could be transformed and how that was really helpful. And there was a lot of great tools in there. And also every single week, the chap running the class did some relaxation. We got like 15 minutes of relaxation, and oh my goodness, I'd never felt so good. It was brilliant. So I got quite interested in how wonderful that felt and how positive an experience that was. And I wasn't put off by it. And then later on when I was pregnant, I used hypnobirthing. The midwives actually started it off by reading off a little script to everybody and asking us to come and relax. And we see these big bean bags and we would sort of lie there and relax. And they were a bit uncomfortable doing it, but they saw the benefits. And I used it all the way through pregnancy and then had the most amazing experience of pregnancy and birth. So again, I kind of had a lot of evidence for how incredibly useful and how potent this could be in terms of helping people. So then I started looking for a course. I thought, right, okay, I'm up in Scotland. I looked around. I didn't want a Mickey Mouse course. I wanted something that was going to be useful and sort of quite a robust kind of useful course that was going to be, really highly regarded, and something that I felt would be the equivalent to me having gone to uni and done other things. I wanted a really strong sense of achievement and learning. And interestingly, when I started looking, it's how we would say, well, I was priming my mind, but I turned on the TV one day and on came Trevor on breakfast telly talking about this book here. And I was fascinated by the book, but I was also fascinated by what he talked about and this idea that he ran this training institute called Quest. So I beavered away and looked it up and found out about it. I went down and met everybody. and got such a great feel for what was going on there. I sat in on some of the classes, and it was very welcoming, and it was very much from the beginning a family, and very much about an ongoing learning. We've never really stopped learning, and I love that. I have a huge love of learning anyway. So that for me felt like a really good fit, and my prayers were answered, and the synchronicity of it was amazing in terms of having looked and then having found. So I haven't looked back since. I got on the train or the bus or on the plane and flew down and come every month and did my course, and really enjoyed it, and haven't ever felt like I've left it behind. Even being up in Scotland, we're not really separated. We're all very much part of a bigger thing, all working together for a bigger thing, and I love that. Even if you're a sole trader and you're working on your own, you're still very much part of something much bigger. And I think in this profession, that's really unique, actually, and really lovely. So very lucky.
So if there are some people who are watching,
Mm-hmm.
feel like something is maybe holding them back, or something is not quite right in their life, and they're looking to transform their life, if there's maybe one thing that you could either teach them or tell them that maybe would help them right now, what would it be?
Gosh, there's a lot of tips, isn't there? And I've been watching some of my colleagues offer tips, and I think we've all got a million we could use. There's one thing that's been coming up lately with clients for me, and it's to do with this idea that we're obviously listening a lot to our minds and what the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. But often we're not really paying much attention to our body. And I'm quite interested at the moment in people taking a moment to just check in. And I learned a thing with a chap called Dr. Brian Rowett around tuning into the inner world. And I love the inner world work that we do. And it involves this metronome. I don't know if you know this one yourself, Laura. So basically, the idea being that often we're running at a really interesting pace. We've not maybe paid attention. The world we live in can be quite fast-paced. And often the internal rhythm of ourselves is maybe a lot faster than we might expect. And when I use this with clients, they're often quite surprised at the level of pace that they feel inside that they haven't actually paid any attention to. So I'll just do it with you, and you can tell me today how you're feeling. So I'll put it on, and you can tell me whether you want me to slow it down or speed it up. Would that be a lovely pace to live to?
No, that's really
really not fun, is it? Can you imagine living your life like that? Okay, I'm going to slow it down a little bit, and then you can tell me whether this starts to feel nicer.
Yeah, it's getting better. Maybe just a little bit more slower.
A bit nicer still. We can make it better. Okay. How's this one?
That's much better, but I think at the moment I'd need a little bit more slow even. That's great.
All good.
Yeah, that's getting there.
Getting there, isn't it? You feel like there's room to breathe when you slow it down, don't you? You can be more expansive. Do you want me to slow it down a little bit more?
Let's try that.
Okay.
Yeah, for relaxation, that's to take a little moment.
Just to have some time.
Yes.
So what I often say to clients is, and you could create an app for this on your phone, and just download the app, is to find the settings that suit you for both relaxation. So if you want to just be spending 5 minutes to yourself and just checking in and just giving yourself that space to breathe, because I find when you do it slowly, you just have more space, don't you? There's space within you to breathe. And then if you wanted a sort of more running pace in terms of how you want to live your life, but not to the crazy fast pace, you might have just a slightly faster one that could just be that kind of backgroundy, what I live my life to, but it isn't too fast. So that can be helpful too. And then you just work to suit what works for you. I mean, some people actually like it a lot faster than that, but whatever. It's all good. We're all different, and that's okay. But just as a tool for checking in and responding to what you feel. And I think that often people spend a lot of time thinking or looking outside themselves for how they feel. And the reality is that we don't often look inside. And my encouragement to people would be, I guess, to give themselves a few minutes. It's a gift. Check inside. I suppose I am all about that. I'm checking for all the good stuff we have within us, and your body's pretty wise, and it knows often what we need to know if we take the time to listen. So that's my tip.